Here comes Deaxz and Quix.
Either
Coming
that or
at
you're
you
learning
fast with a podcast. Break it down, get it in your ears now fast. Quix, Deaxz, cast, pods.
Welcome everybody, my name's EasyQuix and I'm joined with Deaxz. Say hello, Deaxz.
Hello, everybody. My name is Deaxz. Welcome to Two in the Basement, a Dead by Daylight podcast. Now, you might be asking yourself, what do you talk about on a Dead by Daylight podcast? Well, surprise, surprise, we talk about Dead by Daylight a lot. We are going to be covering things such as the perks that appear on the shrine every week, whether to get them, whether to not get them, whether they're worth your time, whether they aren't. We're also going to be talking about game changes, patches that come out, chapter updates, all of that good stuff. And our favourite thing that we're probably going to be doing every week is we're going to be trying to get a guest on every week. And we're going to be talking to them about Dead by Daylight. But before we get any guests on, we need to introduce ourselves. You guys might not even know who we are. So I'm going to throw it to EasyQuix, and he's going to give you a little bit of info on who he is.
Thanks for the introduction. My name's EasyQuix. I stream Dead by Daylight over on Twitch. I've been streaming for about a year and a half, just about. I love to play Killer and Survivor. Specifically, I'm an Ace main for Survivor. He's very, very classy. And I like to play Demogorgon, Oni, and Huntress.
Now, what's your favourite outfit for Ace, Quixie?
Favorite outfit? I like his suit. It's a very classy one. It's the suit with a mustache. That's my favorite. That's my favorite outfit for him.
I actually run the same thing, but I run the sweatband because I need to catch all the sweat coming off me in the public matches when I'm playing.
I used to rock that, and I was like, nah, I'm a bit more classy than that.
No, that's all good, man. That sounds great. For anyone that doesn't know myself, my name is Deaxz. I also play Dead by Daylight. Who'd have thought? I was a killer main. I mained the Wraith, the Bing Bong Man himself. But I did move on to Survivor a couple of months ago, and I have absolutely fallen in love with it. Now, don't stress. I used to play Survivor, and I used to run into every wall, and I would not make it more than 2 meters before the killer downed me and threw me on that hook. But luckily, I've put a lot of hours in. I think Quixie almost has 2,000 hours, not 2 hours, sorry.
1.7k, I've almost had.
And last night, I just cracked 2,000 hours in the game. So people are there going, what a waste of time. Not for us. We absolutely adore this game. And that's simply why we want to talk about it as much as we can. We do want to provide a lot of information for you guys, but we also want it to be a conversation, not only between us, but between you as well. So we are going to be opening up Q&A type things where we'll have you guys send in questions and we'll answer them on the podcast. For anyone that doesn't know, though, as Quixie did say, we both stream over on Twitch. So EasyQuix, like the name says, Easy and Quix with a Q. That's his link there. Mine is Deaxz93, Deaxz93. You can find us there live most days of the week. And Quixie, what else? How long have you been streaming for? I guess we can give a little info about ourselves and our background.
I think I started about August 2019, so it's just about a year and a half. Almost at 2k, mate. You're actually smashing it. 2,000 hours. Why do you play this game? Why do you like this game?
Look, I love Dead by Daylight. Initially, I loved it because I was good at Killer. I thought I was good at Killer, and then I got better at the game, and I realized I was bad at Killer because there are people that are way better than me.
There are some good OCE killers out there. There's some very, very good ones. So we come across quite frequently. Almost every stream is always at least one of them on.
And if we didn't mention as well, we are from Australia. If you couldn't tell by our lovely Australian accents, we play in the oceanic region of Dead by Daylight. So we do encounter mostly players from the Australia and New Zealand area. We do run into, as Quixie said, the odd streamer, but we do run into very, very, very good killers, and also, on the contrast, very, very good survivors. So you can expect you'll learn more about us as we go, but we'll also be, as I said, bringing on guests. They might be streamers, they might be people that just play the game, content creators, whatever you want to call them, but they're all just people at the end of the day, so that's all we want to do. We just want to talk to people about Dead by Daylight, and hope that you have fun hanging out and maybe learn something, or maybe you think we're complete idiots. But that's what we're here for.
100%, mate. 100%. So the OCA community is pretty small. So we do come across the same people quite often, especially in the red ranks when there's not too many players in there. So you must be pretty excited for this next patch, mate, especially with the Wraith buff coming out.
Yeah, that is actually something. As I said, I am a Wraith main, so I actually play the Wraith without using any add-ons. So way back when I was a wee little child playing Dead by Daylight for the first time, I basically tried out the Wraith, and he's a pretty weak killer. He's not that strong, and he's very add-on dependent. So using his add-ons often helps him get kills, that kind of thing. So I decided I'm going to be against the grain, and I'm going to not run add-ons and see how that goes for me. This far, it's been going great. I'm a pretty decent player, I would say. But they actually are buffing the Wraith in the next chapter, which is actually only not less than a week. It's about 3 or 4 days away. So they're actually going to speed him up while he's cloaked. So that's pretty huge. It's just going to make it easier for him as his base kit to get around the map, that kind of thing. Someone that you probably don't play as much, though, that they're changing up as well. They are changing up the Blight and his point of view, because currently it looks like he's a young gnome running around in the Dead by Daylight world, barely able to see above any cars.
Yes, like especially when I play Blight, you can't even see over windows. It's like he's very short. So I'm really keen to see his point of view change, make him a tall killer, just like most of the other ones. So it's going to make him a bit more bearable to play. You can actually see over grass, which would be nice. I don't mind Blight. I want to learn him and get better with him, because he's a pretty strong killer. You see him quite a bit in the OCE tourney out there. There's definitely some good Blights out there.
There are some cracked Blights in our region, that is for sure. The last thing we can kind of talk about, touching on the all kill chapter that's coming out next week, is the decisive strike nerf. Now, we have just jumped straight into giving you guys a little bit of information, but I'll just let you know that we do aim to do these podcasts weekly if we can. We want to be able to provide as much information and have as much fun hanging out with you guys as possible. Obviously, if we feel there's not much to talk about for a week, we might skip a week here and there. But we aim to do these weekly, and we aim to make them as interesting and fun to listen to as possible, especially with having those guests on every week. So we are just going to jump in and talk about one of the big topics that is actually coming next week, and that, as I said, is the nerf or the change, you might say, to decisive strike. So, Quixie, do you want to go through? We've got a little picture here, and let us know what the actual what it's changing from and what the changes are.
So, decisive strike is a very controversial perk. No killer likes versing this perk. It's very common. It's one of the most strongest perks for Survivor. So, pretty much in its current state, once you get unhooked, you got 60 seconds where you cannot be picked up or grabbed out of a locker. So it's very strong. And the killer gets stunned for 5 seconds.
And what do people tend to do with that, Quixie? I feel like they tend to abuse it a little bit.
Lots of survivors, they do try to abuse it. They run a breakable with it. So once they get unhooked and you down them, there's nothing you can really do. They either get up or you pick them up and cop a stun. So
now some people might say that the stun is, I believe, 5 seconds for a tier 3 perk. Now, 5 seconds doesn't seem like a lot in a game of Dead by Daylight, does it? Or in real time, it doesn't seem like a lot. 5 seconds is nothing. We just talked for 5 seconds just then, and nothing happened.
Nothing's happened. And when you're playing killer, you need lots of time, because the gens go very quick. It takes 80 seconds to do one generator, and 5 seconds, it doesn't seem like a lot, but it does add up. It does add up. So in the scheme
of things, it's quite a strong perk, as you're saying. So what are they doing to how are they fixing it or making it less, I guess, less of an offensive perk and more of a not an anti-tunneling perk, but a perk that maybe we might see as a little more balanced.
So pretty much with Decisive Strike, it will deactivate now when you progress the game. So pretty much if you start repairing a generator, it deactivates. If you start to heal somebody else, it deactivates. But if somebody heals you, it's okay. If you cleanse a totem, sabotaging a hook, or unhooking other players, it deactivates. So it's a pretty huge buff. It's pretty huge, because this perk has been in the game since about 2017 and it hasn't really been touched.
Now that is also interesting, because there was basically a way that you could you could kind of get a really strong foothold in the game is if a survivor had borrowed time, the perk that allows someone 15 seconds of invulnerability once they've come off the hook in the killer's terror radius, they could actually have decisive strike. They could go and save someone else, take one hit without going down, then save that person, and then that person themselves go down and then still have decisive strike and be able to have that 60 seconds on the ground where the killer can't pick them up. Now, from what you're telling me with that perk, if they unhook that person, their decisive strike is going to be eliminated and the killer can be free to pick that person up who has decided to rush in to save someone else. That's kind of what I'm picking up there?
That's what they're saying. Like borrowed time and decisive strike is a very very strong build, especially in endgames. When the gates open, somebody's on the hook, you try and unhook them, and if they do go down, they got decisive strike. So the killer, the survivor can either they can just crawl out, or if the killer just waits, they still might have it as soon as they get to the exit gate. So it's a very strong.
Personally,
combo.
you and I have I feel like we've got a pretty objective mindset for Dead by Daylight. So we can see both sides because we both play killer and we both play survivor. We both play at a decently good level. So I believe that we can kind of give our opinions, and that's all they are. They're just opinions. They're not fact. Do you think that this is a positive? I guess a positive move for the game?
I think it's a good change personally, because there's many times when you play killer, you play well, you got a few people down, they get unhooks very fast, and then you go to pick somebody else up, and then they've got the decisive strike, even when you're not even tunneling them. Like, so pretty much DS it's like an anti-tunnel perk, and it's very abusable in its current state. It's been like this for years though, so it's pretty huge change.
So it was never designed as an anti-tunnel perk, though, was it? It was designed as a perk that just stopped the killer from, I guess, hooking the same person multiple times before going for someone else. But it was turned into an anti-tunneling perk because people used it to put themselves in the way of the killer, thus bringing on an air of tunneling, you might say. But that's basically forcing a tunnel on themselves and then complaining because the killer leaves them on the ground and waits out their decisive strike. So that's also the other option. If they don't have Unbreakable, then they can actually be picked up by another teammate within that 60 seconds if you've gone off to chase someone else. So that's where it became very oppressive, especially as Quixie said, if you got 2 or 3 quick downs, you could potentially have two or three survivors all having decisive strike at the same time. Obviously, you're in a good position, but at a snowball effect, if you pick one up and they stun you, that 5 seconds, they can run, get to another player, and then they can get the game back in their favor there.
It's not even just slugs. If you get like multiple hooks like very quickly, it does rack up. If they've all got decisive strike and borrowed time, you got to unhook somebody else. Then you down them, and then there's nothing you can really do as a killer to rack up the hooks. So
now, for myself, I'd also think this is a good change for the game. I think any change for the game is good to try. If it doesn't work out or there's feedback from the community, which Dead by Daylight community is no stranger to giving back their feedback to the developers. I think that it's a good decision. I actually think we're going to see a lot less of decisive strike in the meta now, or in the perks that are run quite often, because I think people are going to start trying to use different perks to actually keep themselves above ground before instead of getting on the hook and relying on a decisive strike to kind of get you out of a tricky situation. Maybe use perks that might extend a chase with the killer, or let you know that they're coming, instead of being like, well, I've got decisive strikes, so it doesn't matter if I go down because I'll just stun the killer and I'll run off.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I used to run decisive strike like pretty often. I love that perk, but like recently I've been running lots of perks to help me in chase. Like, I've used Dead for quite a few years. That's a great perk. Iron Will is also pretty good. I've started running We're Gonna Live Forever. So if the killer decides to slug, you can get up plays like very quickly in like just about like 5 or 6 seconds.
Now, there was actually a recent buff to that. So they buffed that to 100% speed to pick someone up. So essentially, I think they doubled the speed that you used to pick people up from off the ground.
What's it, 8 seconds? It's 16. I don't know. I'm not too sure on the numbers though.
We're not sure on the numbers here, guys. We're not numbers people. We are simple gamers who love Dead by Daylight. So you might not get your exact numbers here, but we do want to give you our opinions, and we do think that it is a good change for the game. We did speak of a perk in that though, Quixie, Borrowed Time. Now, if I just do a quick little segue over to the shrine for this week. So anyone that doesn't know, if you are new to Dead by Daylight or you've never even seen this before, there is a Shrine of Secrets. So basically 4 perks every week appear on this shrine. You can unlock them with the iridescent shards that you earn just from leveling up and playing the game. These often can be quite good perks. They can be absolutely terrible. Usually there's a mixture of a couple of good ones and a couple of bad ones, 4 in total. And this week, actually, Borrowed Time actually does appear on the shrine. So, Borrowed Time is I believe, a bill teachable. So you can unlock Borrowed Time by leveling up Bill. But some people, they prefer to play other characters and they don't want to put their time and blood points into unlocking perks. Do you think Borrowed Time? I'd say Borrowed Time's almost a must-have if you want to help out your team. Do you reckon it's a good perk to spend your shards on?
I think it's worth it personally. If you don't play a Bill often, I reckon definitely grab it because you can use it on anyone. If you unlock it in the shrine, it can unlock in anybody's blood web. So any survivor at all. So I would recommend it. But you can get him for free. You can get the perk for free because Bill's is a free character for PC. I'm not too sure about consoles.
I believe he does appear on consoles now. So
he does? Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it's not a bad shrine this week. It's not
now,
bad.
As for the description, did you just want to run over just briefly what that does?
Yeah, so pretty much if you unhook somebody within the killer's terror radius, they get the endurance status effect, which lasts for 50. So pretty much if the survivor tries to hit you, or if they do hit you, you pretty much take a hit and you don't go down. The drawback to that is you have to mend when you're a survivor, so you got 20 seconds to mend. It's a very, very strong perk. It's pretty common. Lots of survivors like to use it.
I mean, I run it on my builds when I'm playing with a team or by myself. I like to make sure that I'm able to unhook just in case the killer is nearby, and we need to get that person off hook if they're almost to struggle stage or if they're almost dead. It's always handy to have at least one person have it on your team. Obviously, if you're playing solo queue, you can't really tell what your other teammates have.
I just like it because it's just like, just say the killer's camping, for example, you can get a save and like not have to worry about the killer tunneling them. They get an extra chance because there's been many times when you're on the hook, the killer's camping you, somebody else unhooks you without borrowed time, and the killer just targets you, and then you just back on the hook. So it's a very good team-based perk, which I like to run.
Yeah, I think it's great. I also think it's great. So we'll touch on the shrine. We'll finish off the shrine conversation here. The other 3 perks are Tenacity, which is I believe it's is it a Detective Tap perk?
Detective Tap, I believe so.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure it is. Yeah.
Yeah, we have Zanshin Tactics, which I believe is an Oni perk.
That's Oni's perk, yep.
And Hex Retribution, which is a Deathslinger perk, I believe.
Yeah, that's Deathslinger, yep.
So I'll run through Tenacity if you want to run through the killer ones. They are often, so I believe they have two survivor ones and 2 killer ones every week. So obviously Borrowed Time being a survivor perk, I'll run through Tenacity, and then Quixie will help me run through the other 2 killer perks. So Tenacity is a perk by itself, maybe not that good, but coupled with some other perks can actually do a bit of damage to the killer if they do decide to leave you on the ground. What Tenacity does is it allows you to crawl faster when you're downed as a slug, as they call them, on the ground, and you actually can crawl and recover your pickup state at the same time. So in the level 3 version of the perk, you actually crawl 50% faster than you normally would, and you can also recover. This can be good. It can get you to a pallet where you can sit under that. Maybe someone can stun the killer when the killer comes to pick you up if the killer doesn't see them. Its most common use at the moment would be with Unbreakable, so you crawl away really fast. Unbreakable allows you to recover faster on the ground, but you can also crawl while recovering. So you can basically crawl away from the killer, but still be recovering to use Unbreakable. And then the other use of it would be with Power Struggle. So the last chapter introduced Elodie, and she has a perk called Power Struggle. So when your recover bar reaches, I believe, I think it's 50% or 30% of the recover.
I've got the stats here. It's 25% at tier 3.
So when it reaches 25%, what can happen is if the killer, even if there's no survivor nearby, if the killer picks you up, you can then stun the killer by slamming the pallet on them when you're on their shoulder. So it's basically a self-pallet stun without needing another survivor there. Now, tenacity is good for that because it can help you reach that pallet quite fast. So I think, all in all, if you've got some leftover shards, maybe I think it's worth a pickup. Detective Tap, he does have some good other perks, so it could be worth just getting the character. He does have Detective's Hunch, which helps you find totems. Every time a generator is repaired, they light up, their auras light up. But yeah, I think Tenacity is another good one. It's not a main staple like Borrowed Time, but it's definitely a good perk if you want to be a little against the grain and try out some fun things with the pallet stuns and the power struggle or things like that. Now, what do you think about the killer ones that are there, Quixie?
Killer ones. So your Oni's teachable perk is Zanshin Tactics, which allows you to see pallets, breakable walls, and vaults within 24 meters. Not the most useful killer perk, I'd say. It's one of the weaker ones. I probably wouldn't recommend this one. I wouldn't recommend it. But the other one is Hex Retribution, which actually is pretty solid. So pretty much if any survivor cleanses a dull totem, they suffer from the Oblivious status effect for 45 seconds. So what that means is there is no killer terror radius. I believe there's no red stain as well from the killer.
I believe that's right.
Is that correct?
Oblivious, yeah.
And if the survivors do cleanse a hex totem, the killer can see all the auras of survivors for 10 seconds. So that is pretty nasty with Plague with her power. So they don't know you're coming, and you can just down them like very, very fast, and you can see them as well. So it's a pretty good perk. I would recommend this one.
So something that you would run on Plague, is it? It's a perk you've run on?
Yeah, I've tried it a few times on Plague, and it does work if survivors do cleanse, which makes Plague pretty powerful. The survivors, they don't know you're coming, and the killer can see them. So
yeah, because that is pretty good combo. Her power is quite strong. So yeah, I might try that out because I've been trying out Plague recently. So that could be a bit of fun to actually try out. Now, we do have a couple of other things that we wanted to go over this week. As we said, this is episode 0, so as much as we are giving you information about Dead by Daylight, this podcast, we did want to talk a bit about ourselves, just because you might have found this podcast for the very first time. Obviously, it's our first episode, and you might not know who we are. You might be coming from one of our streams. We do YouTube, TikTok, we do all the works. But yeah, you might not know a bit about us. So, Quixie, is there anything that you can have for the listeners potentially that they may not know about? It doesn't have to be Dead by Daylight related, streaming related, potentially any goals that you have, that kind of thing. Just to give the audience a little bit more information about you.
Yeah. So I mainly play Dead by Daylight when I game. I used to play a lot of Call of Duty back in the day on the PS3. Lots of Modern Warfare 2 and Black Ops 2. I know Deaxz likes a bit of Black Ops 2. He's got a bit of... he actually showed us a few of his clips from the other day in one of his streams.
Many hours spent on that game.
Lots of like cheeky trick shots and all that. It's very, very, very nice.
Yeah, well, it seems like I have a habit of sweating in no matter what game I play. So I feel like I'm a competitive player. Mate. So I feel like we're both pretty competitive. We like to win. We also like to, for myself, I love to learn. So I love to also teach people. So one thing that people might not know about me when they come to the stream or just from seeing my videos is I like to teach the game of Dead by Daylight as well. The thing you might not know is that I've actually taught my whole entire family to play. So this includes, I think, 2 of my sisters. Believe it or not, my actual mum as well. I have taught to play, and I've played Survive with Friends and online games with her. And my sister's fiance as well. So we've actually been able to get into a big custom lobby all together, which is a pretty cool feeling to be able to play games with your family. I know that you have a family member that plays Dead by Daylight as well, don't you, Quixie?
Yes, I got my brother to play Dead by Daylight. I've been pestering him for years to try and get on. And Big Mac, if you recognise the name, he's my actual brother IRL. So he likes to play a bit of DVD. He likes to play Killer and Survivor. So he's following in my footpath, which is awesome. But it must be great to have your whole family play this game, because I don't think anybody else in my family is a gamer. Nobody else really games.
It is, and it's not something that I come across very often, where you can say that you jump on some DVD with your mum.
Yeah,
which I think is
cool.
It's a pretty cool feeling. And I think it's cool that your brother plays it. He, as Quixie said, he also streams as well. So make sure you go check him out as well.
Shout out to Big Mac.
Big Mac, exactly, the absolute legend himself. We will leave links and things in the description of the podcast as well, just so you can follow up on all the information that we do talk about. And I guess, yeah, that's kind of a little bit about ourselves. We, as I said, love Dead by Daylight, and we just want to try and entertain. Our goal is to entertain and for myself, educate and help people learn the game. It's what I do on my stream as well. And if we can bring some sort of I guess element of that to the podcast as well, but also give you guys something that you might want to listen to in the car on the way home, or even while you're gaming. Some people listen to podcasts, that kind of thing. We want to be the podcast for you, because we noticed that there's a bit of a gap there. There's not a lot out there, is there, Quixie?
No, there's not. There's not many Dead by Daylight podcasts out there, so it's something
that we want to basically we want to get into, because we think that the more people that learn about the game and know about the game, the longer the game will survive. So the more players to the game. Currently, we have long queue times in our region, especially at night for Survivor, meaning there's not a lot of killers that play. So the more players we can get to the game, that's potential new killers that we can get to the game. And we can continue on and keep the game rolling. I think it's in its 5th year this year, so there'll be a 5-year anniversary event coming in just a few months. I think
that'd be like June, July, I believe. Cause I think the 4th was with Pyramid Head, I believe.
Exactly, and there's not a lot of games that can boast five successful years. You know, a lot of games these days are. I mean, we won't name any names, Cyberpunk, but a lot of games kind of they peter out, or they come out and they aren't finished. And Cyberpunk itself was a game that I was looking forward to for a long time, and I played about 10 hours of it, and I haven't picked it up since. So obviously it's a single player game, it's very different, but even competitive games like online multiplayer games, they sometimes die out. The player base leaves them. Hunt Showdown is actually a good one to mention. Not only because I've just started playing it, but also because its community kind of fell away for a while, and they've just rejuvenated all that, and they're busting out all these events and having all these new players. They actually just beat their highest ever concurrent player record all time in the game. So that game's not going anywhere, and that's what we want for Dead by Daylight. We want another 5 years. I might not play the game for 5 years, but I love the game that much, and I think the developers do a great job. As much as people give them stick, that I think they should be lucky enough to keep working on this game for years to come. As I said, we do have a lot of information about ourselves that you will learn over time. Obviously, we'll have our Q&As as well that we'll be posting on our Twitters and our Discords, that kind of thing, where you can ask questions about ourselves within reason, Dead by Daylight itself. But for today, there was another topic that we did want to mention. Quixie did touch on it earlier. It is actually, and we have mentioned the word competitive a lot so far.
Competitive Dead by Daylight.
So yeah, tournaments and competitive competitions, all that stuff. What do you reckon, Quixie? How do you feel about the esports kind of scene, or that that word is sometimes frowned upon saying in certain regions. But what are your thoughts?
Okay, it's pretty interesting Dead by Daylight, because Dead by Daylight, like as a whole, isn't really that competitive, and I'd like to see it go in a competitive direction if the devs choose to do that, because there's plenty of people interested. You see the OCE tourney that is currently going on, it's doing pretty well, and people are excited about competitive Dead by Daylight. So I'd love to see it going in that direction.
No, that's amazing. Yeah, I'm speaking firsthand, as I've been a person that has participated and is currently participating in a tournament in the Oceanic region. And I do think, as I've mentioned, I'm a competitive person, but I think Dead by Daylight is as competitive as you make it, really. So you can play this game very casually and just for a bit of fun here and there. But you can also, if you're wanting to, I guess, take it a bit more seriously, you can try your best every game and just keep improving, that kind of thing. And I think our especially in Australia or the Oceanic region, the competitive scene is non-existent.
There's not too many tournaments in Australia in OCA for Dead by Daylight. This is like one of the first like major ones that they've come up with.
It is.
So
it is one of the first. It is quite big in not big, sorry, but it's more prevalent in the North American and the EU, the European regions. They actually do Dead by Daylight leagues and things, like you might have heard of the Overwatch League and that kind of thing, similar to that, which is very interesting. It would be cool to have something like that in our region, but this is a good start. So I'm really, really excited for the future of competitive Dead by Daylight. It's very different to the regular game. And I'd love to see it grow.
I'd love to join the competitive scene Dead by Daylight. After watching this OCE tourney, I was a bit questionable about joining it, but after watching the last few streams of it from Funnel Mark and Recover, some good stuff, good signs for
that was also another great thing, wasn't it? That the commentary.
It's very good commentary.
I think that's what's made people want to jump in as well. Is these guys have, as Quixie said there, Funnel Mark and Recover, they're brand new to casting, and I don't think they've ever really done anything like this before. And to say how well they've done, they've kept the audience engaged, especially with the big 5-minute delay that they've had on their streams. It's a bit hard to interact with the audience in real time. But I think they've smashed it. And to get someone like yourself, I remember I actually asked you,
yes, you did,
before the tournament if you would like to play with me, and you kind of you shunned me to the side. No, you basically said that you weren't too sure about it. So,
but yeah, the next tourney I'll definitely try and get in it. It's probably a killer. I think I might go killer.
Yeah, no, it's exciting that the tournament has brought that as well. I think that's the best part of a tournament. Our good friend Running Man as well. They've also just started up an American Dead by Daylight league of sorts called Vigo's Court, and theirs is actually a regular tournament thing. He does regular casting on it and that kind of thing. So it's cool to see if we ourselves as the players push the competitive or tournament scene of the game. Will Behaviour, the developers of Dead by Daylight, will they start pushing in-game features that help with tournaments? This did happen with, I believe, I think Overwatch was one of the things where they have the Overwatch League stuff. You can actually view it in-game. When you open up the menu, you can click on it. Rocket League is another one where if there's esports going on, there's a little tab on the Rocket League game that you can click on. It will take you straight to the esports that are playing. So they've brought in tournaments and things like that. So hopefully, maybe that encourages Dead by Daylight to do the same. I'm not sure.
So do you reckon they'd ever add a competitive mode in Dead by Daylight? Do you reckon it'd be a good thing, or would it split the community up, do you reckon?
Look, I think if the player base is there and there's enough people to warrant that and to make it that you're not having 40, 50-minute queues. It would be great to have. But I do feel like as clear and as simple as this game can be is the best way to have it, as we don't want new players jumping into competitive and thinking that this is the real game. Well, not real game, but this is the base game, and then scaring them away. There would be some level cap, I'm sure, like there is in other competitive games where you can't access the competitive mode before a certain level. But yeah, I think if the player base was there, I would love to see it. I don't think we're quite there yet. I think you and I would know, especially in our region, when we get on at about, we're night grinders, we're on at 2, 3 a.m. And when we queue up, we get the same killers, the same survivors. And if you split that into competitive and casual, I don't think there would be enough players. Like, do you think there would be enough?
No, I don't think there would. Honestly, I wouldn't think there would. Like, DBD, it's a very small game in comparison to games like Call of Duty, for example, when the player base is like massive.
Like League of Legends, that
yes.
kind of thing. They've got all their different modes and stuff because they've got thousands upon thousands of players.
And crossplay has definitely helped DBD though when that was released. Was it last year? I believe.
Yeah, it was about like halfway through to towards the end of last year. Crossplay.
So that has increased the player base quite a bit because there's a lot of console players out there, which is
it's actually amazing.
Really helped this game.
It's good to see Xbox, PlayStation, even the Switch now. Basically everything but mobile is able to play with PC and vice versa. So it was awesome to start playing against different people as well.
Yes, and I've met so many new people from there as well, like streamers and just people coming to my chat and Twitch. Just all around like a good scene, good thing to do to bring crossplay into this game.
Exactly right, and it's something that we've been waiting for a while. I still remember back in the day when Fortnite introduced crossplay between PC and Xbox and PS4, and I was an Xbox player back then, and but even between Xbox and PS4, they brought in crossplay, and it brought a tear to what was once a young gamer's eye, and who had imagined playing Xbox games with their friends on PS4, and being able to play like Call of Duty or something together. And I think as much as people give a little bit of flack to Fortnite, and Epic Games, they really did pave the way for that crossplay generation to come through and for companies to be okay with it.
Yeah, because it's always been the PlayStation versus Xbox versus PC debate. So it's great to see that everyone on those individual platforms can all play together and even go on comms in Fortnite and stuff all together.
Exactly,
which was lacking.
They can just play a game that they want to play. They just like the game and they want to play it with as many people as possible. So
exactly,
I definitely think that it's an amazing thing for gaming in general, but also, as you said, for Dead by Daylight to get that extra player base and to mix it up a little bit. It's been really, really good. I believe that speaking of the changes that we were talking about though, and queue times, Quixie, we've got maybe one or two more things to talk about for this episode 0. Obviously, we don't want to go too crazy on the first episode. We do just want to give you guys an introduction and give you kind of a little bit of a taste of what you might be expecting or what you can expect from the podcast. So I think there was maybe one or two other things, Quixie.
Was that the MMR test?
Yeah, I believe that was one of the things that we had.
So the MMR is pretty much like a hidden rank behind the scenes, pretty much. So each killer has their own MMR rating. So that's great. So just say you're a Huntress main or something, and you only play Huntress. It allows you to play a different killer and not have to worry about versus some very good players. It allows you to play different weaker killers or just any killers in general. I noticed that you played it. I didn't get the chance to play it. So what was your thoughts on? I didn't play it. No, I didn't. What was your thoughts on it? What did you reckon? Do you reckon it was a good thing, or were the queues long? I
guess the best way to preface this is to say that currently the way that Dead by Daylight does its matchmaking is through your rank. So if you're a rank 1 or in the red coloured ranks, it essentially will try and match you with other players that are in red colored ranks. So this is mostly a good system. However, the system does fall down if there aren't as many players online. We obviously know about that being in the Oceania region, a smaller player base. It'll start matching you with people that potentially are in different ranks that aren't of your skill level, which can be good and bad depending on if you're the person being matched in the higher or lower game. So what they're aiming to do is their MMR, so matchmaking rating, as Quixie said, is a hidden rating that you can't see. Games like Overwatch, again, I bring that up. They have an SR rating, so a skill rating, I think that is. You can actually physically see that when you go into competitive play. And you can know exactly where you are on the skill rating, on the leaderboards, that kind of thing. So Dead by Daylight won't have that.
How would they measure a skill rating in a game like Dead by Daylight? It's very tricky. It's a tricky thing to do, to measure skill in this game.
I agree. I agree, because there's so many different variables. Dead by Daylight itself, as a game, is very, very different. Is very, very different every game, which is one of the reasons we like playing it.
It's asymmetric, so it's very hard because there's two different ratings. You got one for killer, one for survivor. What counts as a win? What counts as like good skill in this game?
So my thoughts are that for survivors themselves, it was going to be based. It's more based off escaping, and that kind of thing. I believe. Obviously, we're unsure. They haven't really told, like, behavior themselves haven't really informed us of what goes into that matchmaking rating, which does make it a bit harder to give a lot of information on. But essentially, I did play games during the matchmaking time, and what I did was I went in and I played a couple of games with. Luckily, I'd never played Spirit before up until recently, so I'd only played 5 games with her, albeit I did do well in those games.
How was Spirit? How did you enjoy? Do you enjoy playing Spirit? Do you think that she's like an easy killer to play? Do you feel dirty playing her? Because she's a very strong killer.
Now,
one
look,
of the top
there was
two.
a reason I hadn't played Spirit, because I do believe that she's one of the strongest killers, but one of the least. I don't know if the word is least rewarding,
least fun to play against.
She's just one of the. I don't want to say skilled, because I don't want to basically turn off any people that play Spirit, because it does. After playing her, I realized that there is skill involved in tracking survivors and that kind of thing. But I just believe that she takes less skill to be good with than certain other killers. So, which is always going to happen when you have, I think, 22 killers in the game or 20 killers in the game. There's always going to be killers that are easier to use. But the thing is, she's so strong. And she's so easy to use, I feel. I'll tell you, in those 5 games I played, I believe I got 3 4Ks and 2 3Ks in that. And that, obviously, I have a lot of experience hours-wise playing killer, which can be translated into a new killer. But that actually leads me into the point that I was going to make about the MMR, is that I played a fresh, brand new killer that I'd never played. I'd never played Plague before.
Plague?
And I only just purchased her. I didn't have her purchased or anything, and I played her during the MMR. So the games that I got, for the most part, they were actually pretty spot on with matchmaking. I got like people that had, rank 17 or rank 18, people that weren't as good, because I'd never played that killer. So essentially, what the game was saying is, hey, you've never played Plague before. We're going to put you against survivors that maybe don't. Escape as often as they do when they play against this person at this rank.
So does that mean, like, if just say you're a good survivor, you got a high MMR rating, does that mean you're going to be versing like lots of like top tier killers like spirits, nurses, hags?
So I think that MMR it's mainly based off what the killer is experiencing. So there's not as much that goes into it for Survivor. So basically, being fresh to Plague, I had 0. There was no MMR, so there was no way of the game knowing if I was good or bad with her. But I also have, 2,000 hours worth of experience, both killer and survivor, that I'm taking into that killer. Whereas if someone's fresh to the game, they also have the exact same 0 MMR that I have with that killer, but they don't have the experience that I have. So that's the thing that we were trying to figure out and want to kind of know is the game just basing it off my results as the killer? Or is it basing it off my hours combined with my results, combined with other things? Because that means that technically, Quixie, you could get your sister who's never played games before. She could jump on Dead by Daylight and play some games with the Plague, and she could lose to those survivors that aren't as good. But I could play against those exact same survivors, and I could, go in and absolutely destroy them because I've got the experience playing. So that's where the MMR breaks down because, yes, it's putting you against lower tier survivors, but those games are actually really easy for me because I have the experience playing against higher tier survivors.
Yeah, 100%. Because like experience is like huge in this game. If you got lots of hours, even if say you're a survivor main, you know how the game works. If you move the killer, you got a pretty good idea of how killer goes. Like you're gonna do a ride. You're gonna do a ride if you play the other side, I think.
So on the whole of the MMR test, basically, I played about 10 killer games, I'd say, between different killers. And I went over I was doing it live on stream, and I went over with the chat, and we all discussed and talked about, did that matchmaking seem viable, playing this killer. The one thing was, obviously, I'm a Wraith main, so I played some games as Wraith, and those games seemed normal. They seemed fine. I went up against players that were of good skill level. I still beat a couple of them. Some of them got out. Like it was pretty standard. But then I played Huntress, who I play quite a bit, and I do pretty well with usually. And I got survivors that were a lower skill level that were kind of running around cluelessly. So it was a bit confusing. It's definitely not perfect. But as I say this a lot about the game, if they're trying to make positive changes, it is never a bad thing.
Yeah, definitely. So, did you want to talk about the new chapter coming out on Tuesday? So we got one new killer, one new survivor in this chapter coming out on Tuesday. It's called All Kill. So we got the Trickster, who is a brand new killer. I got a couple hours with him in the PTB. So pretty much he throws knives at survivors. It's pretty lethal, I'd say. He's like a Joker kind of killer. Got some pretty strong perks. Do you want to discuss those, Deaxzy?
But I'll start with the killer perks. We'll just run through them quickly. We don't want to take up too much time, and we definitely want to save a lot of this information for next week when we've got a lot more information to give you. But I'll touch on the first one. So the first one's called Starstruck. So I'll just read this straight from the description. So whenever a survivor enters or re-enters your terror radius, so this is the heartbeat, basically the heartbeat range, they suffer from the exposed status. So I believe this is when you're carrying a survivor. So whenever you're carrying a survivor and another survivor enters or re-enters your terror radius, they suffer from the exposed. So that means they're a one hit down. So that actually is very important because a lot of the times you will see in games where survivors go for protection hits or to stop the killer from getting to the hook, or they sit in front of the hook and block the hook, and then the killer hits them. That's going to remove that element.
They've also changed it so when a survivor exits that terrace and walks back in, their exposed effect like resets.
Oh, really? Does it? There you go.
That was one of the recent things they changed, and there's probably more to come when the new release comes out, which could be some trickster buffs potentially. And
that actually lingers for, I believe, 30 seconds after leaving that terror radius. So if you run into the terror radius even for 1 second and you leave, and the killer hooks someone, and that killer finds you within the next 30 seconds, you are actually still exposed. So it's essentially like a mini form of NOED, or no one escapes death, giving that exposed status every time you pick up a survivor. There is a cooldown on it of 60 seconds after you've finished carrying a survivor before it can reactivate. But most of the time, you're not going to find and down another survivor within 1 minute anyway. So yeah, it's quite an interesting perk. Whether it's going to be in the meta or not, we don't know. The next perk is Hex Crowd Control, which is a very, very interesting A very interesting perk. So this is actually the entity blocking a window, similar to Bamboozle. When the killer walks through a window or vaults through a window, it blocks the window. This is actually the opposite. So when a survivor performs a rushed vault, so a sprinting vault, either a medium or fast vault, then the window will actually block. Now this is a hex totem, Quixie, so it's much similar to Ruin or Undying. It's going to be something that survivors have to break to stop that from persisting.
It's really going to punish. It's really going to punish survivors that like to loop the killer, because as soon as they vault that window, it's going to be blocked. So you won't be able to use it again. You got to either find a different loop or throw the pallet down.
Exactly, and one of the most interesting things is T&L walls. So when you're looping a killer at T&L, there's a window on each side of the tile. The most interesting part of this is that it actually blocks. Like Bamboozle only blocks one window. So if you go through with Bamboozle and then you go through another window, Bamboozle transfers to that other window. Now this one blocks every window that you go through for 14 seconds. So if you go to a T&L and you go back through each window, they're blocked. Those windows are blocked. You've essentially you cannot use that loop anymore, or you cannot use that tile.
So that perk and Undying could be pretty lethal on, like, just say Leatherface, for example, when you need to block that window to get the one shot down. Even Billy, one shot down killers are going to really benefit from this perk. I
agree. It's going to be a very interesting perk. It is a hex perk, so you do risk losing it quickly, and then being stuck with one less perk. But I love that they're trying out different perks like this. It's amazing to see. It might be too strong. It might not be strong enough, but we'll see. Now the last perk is called No Way Out. So for each survivor that you manage to hook, No Way Out gains a token. So when the last generator is repaired, the entity actually blocks the exit gate for 10 seconds, and then an additional 8 seconds if it's in tier 3, for however many tokens you have, up to a maximum of 42 seconds. So for each survivor you manage to hook, that is each individual survivor, I believe. So you can get up to 4 tokens, I believe it is, each token being worth 8. So obviously 8 times 4, 32, plus the original 10 seconds is the 42 seconds. So, Quixie, this could be the difference between survivors being able to run instantly to the gate and unlocking it, and you potentially having no ed, and them all being exposed, and then being able to chase them around for 42 seconds without them opening the exit gate. Do you reckon this is pretty strong?
Yeah, I think it is. Like, if you combine that with, like, Noed, Remember Me, and Blood Warden, it can be pretty lethal, especially if survivors try to get gens done quickly. Got the extra bit of time.
Exactly. Yeah, I think, as I said, we don't know if these are going to be meta or really strong, but the flavor text and what's coming through with the descriptions, I believe it'll be interesting to see exactly how they do. I'm looking forward to using the Starstruck and crowd control perk myself.
Yeah, so I'll just jump straight into the survivor perks for Yunjin Lee. So the first one is Fast Track. So pretty much whenever another survivor is hooked, you gain 3 tokens, and pretty much if you hit a great skill check, I'll just read it right here. You consume all tokens after a great skill check on a generator. Each token consumed grants an additional progression bonus of 1% for great skill checks when repairing generators. Like, it doesn't sound like much, but just say if the killer gets lots of hooks and you hit lots of great skill checks, you can get gens done pretty quick. He's like, it's not a bad survivor perk if you want to save some time doing generators.
Yeah, so that's one of those perks that I think potentially is a bit of a miss there. Obviously, when another survivor is hooked, I believe that's individual hooks. It's not.
Is individual, is it?
I believe it is every time a survivor is hooked, not a unique hook. So unique hooks are like barbecue and chili. When you hook one survivor, you get a token, up to 4 tokens for those 4 unique survivors. But I believe that Fast Track is whenever another survivor is hooked in general. So that means you could have, if the killer gets 9 hooks, then you could potentially have 27 tokens, which if you hit a great skill check, that adds an extra 27% That's
That's
a
pretty
whole
huge.
quarter of a generator. So it is pretty huge, but you're in a bad spot probably if you've had 9 hooks against you already.
Yeah, definitely.
So it'll be interesting to see. But yeah, take it away with the other ones, Quixie.
So the other perk is called Smash Hit. So pretty much whenever you pallet stun the killer, you like break into a sprint burst, which is 150% movement speed for 4 seconds. So just say you drop Shack Pallet, you'd be able to get like lots of distance on the killer.
Drop and stun, remember. You got to stun
if
the
you get
killer.
the stun. Just say you stun the killer, you can get 4 seconds of 150% movement speed. So in that time, you can gain a lot of distance. And while the killer is still breaking the pallet, that takes a couple seconds as well. You can get across the map, or almost across the whole map, can't you?
I think people worked it out that if the killer does decide to break the pallet, or they have to break the pallet, you almost gain about a full 5, almost 6 seconds on the killer if you sprint away. As the killer also has the stun animation, which you've already left the pallet, but they also get stunned, and then they also have to break the pallet. So this could be a good replacement for something like Sprint Burst itself, or even Dead Hard. Instead of using Dead Hard to get to an extra area, you can play a bit safer and throw the pallet and get the stun, and then you can actually sprint away to potentially a safer area, or the killer might not even chase you because you've gotten so much distance. So that one will be interesting to see. I think that's going to be a perk that potentially could become meta.
It's one of the better survivor perks that they're releasing, I think, in my opinion.
Yeah,
we have to get some testing with it for sure. The last perk, self-preservation. Whenever another survivor within 12 meters of you is hit with a basic or special attack, self-preservation activates. So pretty much all your scratch marks are hidden for 10 seconds, and you make no sound as well. So I'm not one of the better. I wouldn't say it's that good. And you don't leave pools of blood as well. So pretty much you're just not there. If the killer doesn't set you, you're not there. So what's your thoughts on that one, Deaxy?
So that one is basically so it's an Iron Will. You get an Iron Will and a No Mither form mixed together. So no Grunts of Pain and no blood pools. And then you get a Dance With Me effect as well. So your scratch marks are hidden. This is
like off the radar pretty much.
Exactly. So you've used a counter spy plane, and you're no longer on the radar. But with this, it's within when there's another survivor is within 12 meters of you. So this could mean that if you're at a generator and that person gets hit next to you and you fast vault over a wall, then the killer loses track of you and they don't see your scratch marks or anything. I think it's quite situational. More than Smash Hit because there's more pallets and stuff on the map, but I struggle to see when self-preservation would be useful. As you know, if there's survivors that are in a group together and the killer hits another survivor with a basic or special attack, they're mostly, if it's a basic attack, they're probably going to chase the person that's injured anyway.
Yeah, get the down.
So I don't quite see the point of that, because why, your Grunts of Pain are going to go away, but if you're not injured, then that doesn't help you at all.
It's pretty much just forcing the killer to go for the injured player, which is pretty much what they do anyway.
Yeah, so I think maybe with a special attack, that might be like with a chain. If someone gets chainsawed next to you, that might be more helpful because then you can run away. And if the killer comes to look for you, if an Oni downs a teammate with the Demon Strike, then that might help you escape. But especially if you're injured, it might be part of an injured build. It might be part of the resilience, spine chill. It might be worth running self-preservation because that means potentially you don't run Iron Will, and you don't have to run Iron Will. You don't have to run, something like that. So we'll have to see really and see what's what it's going to be. But I do think that's one of the missed ones as well. The survivor ones are a bit of a miss for me, except for Smash Hit.
Yeah, I do like the killer ones. I do want to test them out. They seem pretty strong, all of them, I'd say.
I do. I agree. I completely agree with you. Quixie, we've just we've absolutely smashed it, mate. We've just hit I believe we just hit over an hour of hanging out together and chatting. It's absolutely flown by. There definitely wasn't about 45 minutes before this where we were messing up and practicing and having a great laugh.
A few bloopers.
Definitely not.
Blooper reel coming soon.
This is our first ever podcast that we've recorded, everyone. So cut us a bit of slack if you've listened to podcasts regularly, and give us some feedback. We are going to wrap up the episode there, but definitely give us some feedback, whether that is in our streams, on YouTube video, on our Twitters. We want to hear feedback and we want to know what we can do better.
Let us know what you guys want to hear. What do you want us to talk about in upcoming episodes?
We have plenty of stuff that we have already planned out to talk about, but if people want to hear about specific things, if a killer is strong in this way, can you help me learn? Can you go on an episode where you just cover Demogorgon, and you cover everything?
I can arrange that.
Quixie can definitely do that.
I love a bit of demo.
Exactly. So we just want to entertain, and we want to give you guys something good to listen to, but also fill that void of the Dead by Daylight. Not having a podcast really that's weekly and that's there. We want to try our best to remain consistent and be coming out every week, as we don't want to be those people that just bring out one episode and drop off. And we also we're excited to talk about Dead by Daylight. As we could talk for another 3 hours, but we don't want to chew your ear off first. Maybe the 3 hour episode will come down come down the line. But yeah, is there any other words you want to say, Quixie? Because I think you've absolutely smashed it. We were both a bit nervous at the start, so I think we've kind of settled in.
I think we've done well, mate. I think we've done well.
We're giving ourselves a little bit of a pat on the back here, but
thank you if you made it to this part of the podcast.
Yes, thank you.
Appreciate you all here.
Exactly. If you did make it to this point of the podcast, give yourself a round of applause. If you're in the car going to work, look to the person next to you in the car next to you. Give them a thumbs up. Give yourself a clap. Make it weird. Just make it weird.
That's good, mate. That's good. So I think we're going to wrap up there.
We appreciate everyone listening, whoever did, and we're definitely going to be coming back. We will announce guests usually on the episode. We'll announce the next guest episode for the episode. Sorry, we have some guests locked down that we are potentially going to be getting on. We're not going to drop any names yet, but Discord and Twitter will be the place. I believe we'll be making a Twitter for the podcast, so that'll just be something like @2 in the basement or something like that.
So we might do like a Q&A Twitter post. So if there's any questions,
make sure you get them
comment on that Twitter post, and we'll be sure to include it in this podcast.
But yeah, that from us guys, that's it. We've been 2 in the basement, a Dead by Daylight podcast. I've been Deaxz.
I've been Quixie.
And good luck in the fog.
Catch us all next time.